Have you ever felt like the world around you is spinning too fast, while your inner world is falling apart? Do you find yourself reacting instead of responding? Always on edge, always exhausted, like you're trying to hold it all together? In a world that moves at the speed of distraction, staying centered feels like a luxury. But what if it's actually a necessity? Before we dive deep, hit that subscribe button if you're ready to stop merely surviving and start building the kind of inner power that no chaos can break. This isn't just about staying calm, it's about becoming unshakable. Let's get into it.
1. The storm will come. Why you must anchor yourself now. Chaos isn't optional. Life throws curveballs, breakups, betrayals, losses, failures. It's not a matter of if the storm will come, but when. This is not pessimism, it's preparation. To pretend life will unfold without disruption is to build castles in the air, only to be stunned when the winds blow them away. We will all face moments that threaten to undo us. Death will knock, relationships will rupture, and circumstances will spiral out of our control. Yet the pain of these storms isn't just in the events themselves, it's in how unprepared we are when they arrive. We want control, but the world reminds us again and again, control is mostly an illusion. The Stoics didn't deny the storm, they anticipated it. They didn't teach detachment from life, but resilience in living it. The Stoics taught this with brutal honesty. You can't control external events, only your inner response. Most people build their peace on sand, jobs, relationships, routines. When the tide rises, they crumble. We're conditioned to feel secure through routines, labels, and identities, yet all of these can vanish. The company you work for might close, the person you love might walk away, the goals you built your self-worth on might slip through your hands. If your peace is tethered to those external structures, you'll find yourself spiritually homeless when they collapse. The Stoics saw this as a fundamental error in human thinking, the misplacement of our hopes in things we do not own. What we own is our mind, our actions, our choices. Everything else is borrowed. To stay grounded, you need something deeper. You need an anchor within, and that begins with the understanding that stability is built, not found. The inner anchor is crafted through daily discipline, reflection, self-honesty, courage, and an unshakable commitment to reality. It's forged in quiet moments when no one is watching, when you hold yourself accountable not because of fear, but because of principle. Building stability means training yourself to endure discomfort, to hold space for difficult emotions without drowning in them. It means developing perspective, to zoom out in chaos and remind yourself what truly matters. Anchoring yourself internally means living with intention, not reaction. The world owes you no peace. If you want to be steady, you have to become the kind of person who remains calm when others panic. The difference between those who survive storms and those who are broken by them isn't luck, it's inner preparation. The storm will come, but if you've done the work, cultivated resilience, defined your values, trained your thoughts, you'll stand while others fall. You won't just survive, you'll lead, support, and inspire. That's what it means to anchor yourself now, not waiting for the crisis to build strength, but beginning now, quietly, daily, deliberately, so that when the winds rise, you don't disappear in the chaos. 2. Master the mind. Mindfulness as mental armor. The mind is a battlefield. If you don't train it, it trains you. And an untrained mind amplifies chaos. Left unchecked, the mind doesn't lead you to truth. It magnifies fear, multiplies distractions, and conjures problems that don't exist. Think about how often we spiral, not because of what's happening, but because of what we imagine might happen. Anxiety, overthinking, and self-sabotage aren't rooted in reality, they're rooted in a mind that's been left unattended. You wouldn't leave a wild animal in your home without restraint. Why do we leave our thoughts to roam untamed? Mental clarity isn't automatic, it's earned. And unless you become the master of your inner world, the outer world will rule you. Mindfulness isn't just a wellness trend, it's a weapon. It's the daily discipline of becoming the observer of your thoughts instead of being a prisoner to them. When you cultivate mindfulness, you shift from being immersed in every emotional wave to standing on the shore, watching the tide rise and fall. You become less reactive, more reflective. And in that gap between stimulus and response, you find power. True mindfulness isn't passive, it's deeply active. It's a form of inner vigilance, a way of noticing where your attention goes, how your emotions rise, and how old mental habits try to reclaim control. In training your awareness, you reclaim agency over your life. Try this. Pause. Breathe. Watch your thoughts come and go without judgment. Over time, you'll stop reacting to life and start responding with clarity. This sounds simple, but it requires practice. Every time you feel the urge to lash out, withdraw, spiral, or numb yourself, you have a choice. That choice becomes available the moment you notice the thought instead of merging with it. You're not your thoughts, you're the space they pass through. Once you start seeing that clearly, you can act with intention rather than impulse. This doesn't mean eliminating emotion, it means refining your relationship with it. Mindfulness helps you hold pain without letting it define you. It helps you feel anger without letting it control you. Marcus Aurelius journaled every morning, not because he had time, but because the emperor of Rome knew the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. That quote isn't just poetic, it's psychological. Your dominant thoughts shape your reality. If you want to live with strength, your mind must be trained like a soldier, alert, grounded, clear. This is what makes mindfulness armor. It protects you not by building walls, but by sharpening your awareness. In a distracted, reactive world, attention is power. Mindfulness is the practice of reclaiming that power, one breath, one thought, one moment at a time.
3. Core values, your inner compass when the map is torn. When things fall apart, your values are what hold you together. External chaos reveals internal alignment, or the lack of it. In moments of confusion, betrayal, or collapse, it's not your job title, income, or Instagram following that saves you. It's your core. If your sense of self is fragile, the world will break it. But if you've clarified your values, then even when you lose everything, you'll still know who you are. You won't be lost, you'll just be tested. And tests don't destroy what's real, they refine it. People drift because they've never defined what they stand for. Do you know your values? Not vague wishes, but your non-negotiables, the principles you live and die by. A value is not a poster on your wall or a slogan on your phone wallpaper. It's a line you refuse to cross even when it's inconvenient. If you don't define your values, someone else will. Culture will pull you toward comfort. Social media will lure you toward image. The crowd will pressure you into conformity. But values act as your internal compass. They orient you when the map is torn. They remind you, this is who I am no matter what's happening. When you know what you stand for, decisions become easier. You don't chase every trend, every opinion, every offer. You move with conviction. You stop asking, what will they think of me? And start asking, does this align with who I choose to be? Clarity on values doesn't guarantee an easy life, but it guarantees a meaningful one. You'll say no more often, not out of fear, but out of integrity. You'll walk away from what's popular if it clashes with your principles. You'll endure solitude over compromising your soul. Values provide direction in times of doubt and courage in times of fear.
Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about aligning with virtue. Justice, courage, self-control, wisdom. These aren't old words, they're survival tools in modern chaos. When you embody these virtues, you become unshakable. Not perfect, but principled. Not emotionless, but emotionally intelligent. A Stoic doesn't avoid hardship, they move through it with moral clarity. In a world that rewards performance, Stoicism reminds us to reward integrity. Living by values doesn't make life easier, but it makes it honest. And honesty, in the end, is what anchors a meaningful existence. So define your core, test it, live it, let it guide you when everything else falls apart.
4. The power of purpose, building an inner mission. When life feels meaningless, everything becomes overwhelming. But when you're living on purpose, even pain feels like progress. A life without purpose is like a ship adrift at sea, subject to every wave, every current, every sudden storm. In such a state, even minor setbacks feel crushing, and even moderate responsibilities feel unbearable. There's no compass to guide your reactions, no framework to assign meaning to your efforts or sufferings. But when you live with purpose, when your life has an inner mission, everything changes. Pain still hurts, but it hurts differently. It feels like the soreness after a meaningful workout, a wound earned in pursuit of something noble. Discomfort becomes data, guiding you back to alignment. You start seeing obstacles not as punishments, but as curriculum designed to strengthen your resolve. Even loss becomes a form of pruning, cutting away what doesn't serve the deeper aim. This reframing isn't a delusion, it's discipline. It's how people endure extreme hardship with grace, because they've decided that their life serves something higher than pleasure or ease. They aren't merely surviving, they're contributing, evolving, growing. And that growth is anchored in meaning. The moment you tether your existence to something greater, even your suffering begins to feel sacred. Purpose isn't found, it's forged. You choose it, you refine it, you live it every day, even when it's inconvenient. The popular notion of finding your purpose sets people up for passivity. They wait for a divine sign, for the right moment, for the perfect opportunity to arrive. But real purpose doesn't strike like lightning. It's sculpted like marble, slowly and intentionally. It starts as a choice, often uncertain and messy. You begin with a vague sense of direction, a pull towards something, a curiosity, a restlessness, a need to contribute. And then you test it in the real world. You commit to it, not because it's easy, but because you believe in the person it will help you become. Along the way, that purpose gets clarified by challenge, refined by failure, and deepened by responsibility. It evolves with you. And perhaps most importantly, it demands consistency. Living with purpose isn't always glamorous. It often looks like staying late, showing up when it's hard, saying no to distractions, and enduring discomfort. But that's what gives it weight. That's what separates mere motivation from mission. Purpose is something you carry like a torch, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's not. That's when it becomes who you are. Ask yourself, what problem am I here to solve? Who do I want to become, not just for myself, but for others? Purpose is rarely just about you, it's also about impact. The most enduring missions are those that connect you to others. They ask not only who you are, but what you're here to fix, elevate, protect, or heal. Start by asking what breaks your heart, what injustice, what inefficiency, what pain in the world do you feel compelled to address? This is your invitation, not just to feel something, but to do something. And once you've named the problem, turn inward. Who must you become to be part of the solution? This isn't a self-improvement exercise for vanity. It's transformation in service of something larger. It means cultivating discipline not because you want to look good, but because someone else's breakthrough might depend on your integrity. It means developing skills not just for status, but to be of use. Your life becomes less about accumulation and more about contribution. And in that contribution, you find identity, not a mask, but a mission. You don't just ask, what do I want to do? You ask, who needs me to become my best? That's how lives are changed, not just yours, but the lives you touch through your decision to serve. Seneca said, if one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. Without purpose, every challenge feels like defeat. With purpose, it feels like growth. Seneca's wisdom is piercing because it exposes the cost of drifting. When you lack direction, every force feels like resistance. You become hypersensitive to stress, anxious in the face of uncertainty, and paralyzed by decision-making. Life starts to feel like it's happening to you rather than through you. But the moment you define your destination, your personal port, everything realigns. Winds that once felt random become useful, even if they're strong or turbulent. You start to recognize challenges not as interruptions, but as navigational adjustments. A setback becomes a lesson, a delay becomes preparation, and each moment of doubt becomes an opportunity to recommit. That's the power of purpose. It transforms the same external conditions into a completely different internal reality. Two people can experience the same failure. One collapses, the other recalibrates. The difference isn't strength, it's vision. One person sees an ending, the other sees a redirection. Purpose doesn't eliminate suffering, but it redeems it. It says, this pain has a place. This trial is not the end. It's not romanticism. It's resilience born of meaning. When you know your port, you stop resenting the wind. You learn to harness it.
5. Inner stillness. Practice it before you need it. Peace isn't something you find during chaos. It's something you practice daily, so it's there when the chaos hits. We tend to search for peace like it's a missing object, something we'll stumble upon once the noise dies down. But true peace isn't circumstantial. It's not the result of perfect conditions. It's a skill, a muscle, a discipline, cultivated in quiet moments long before the storm ever arrives. Think of it like a mental immune system. You don't build immunity in the middle of an infection. You build it gradually by strengthening your capacity before you need it. Likewise, inner stillness isn't something you access for the first time when your world falls apart. If you haven't trained for it, through reflection, restraint, and presence, you'll be swept away by the chaos. But if you have, then even amidst the noise, there's a deeper calm beneath the surface. The world may be on fire, but your center holds. This is what separates those who react impulsively from those who respond wisely. One is flailing in the dark, the other is drawing from a well they've dug daily. Stillness doesn't mean doing nothing. It means knowing when to pause, when to reflect, and when to act with clarity. There's a misconception that stillness equals inactivity, that to be still is to sit passively, disengaged from the world. But real stillness is intensely active. It's the practice of mastering your impulses, disciplining your attention, and cultivating deliberate action. It's not about doing less, but about doing what matters most with presence and precision. Stillness is the power to pause before speaking, to breathe before reacting, to observe before judging. It's in that pause that clarity emerges. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but still wrote pages about retreating into the inner citadel, the sanctuary within. Stillness was not a luxury. It was his armor. It was how he kept his head when others lost theirs. We need the same. In a world addicted to speed and distraction, the person who can pause, who can hold the moment without flinching, becomes the person who leads, heals,
and inspires. Stillness is not withdrawal, it's wisdom in motion. Daily practices like silence, journaling, walking without your phone, they reconnect you to your inner self, the part that doesn't break when the world shakes. The inner self, the calm, enduring witness beneath your thoughts, is always there, but it gets buried under the clutter of modern life. Notifications, obligations, endless scrolling, they all sever your connection to that core. To return to it, you need daily rituals that slow you down, that strip away the noise, that remind you who you are. Silence isn't empty, it's full of signal. Journaling isn't self-indulgent, it's a mirror. And walking without your phone? That's not boredom, it's healing. These aren't just wellness trends, they're spiritual workouts. They train your awareness. They make you comfortable in your own company. They help you hear the voice of your conscience again, the voice that's drowned out when you're overstimulated. Without these practices, life becomes reactive, but with them, you return to intention. You live from the inside out rather than outside in. You stop chasing peace and start becoming it. You don't become unshakable in the moment of crisis. You become unshakable in the moments no one sees. That's when you do the work. The real preparation happens in secret. It's in the early mornings when you choose presence over procrastination. It's in the quiet evenings when you reflect instead of escape. These are the invisible victories. The world applauds performance, but stillness is forged backstage. In crisis, people look for heroes, but heroes are made in the dark, in the dailiness of discipline. They aren't lucky, they're ready. Their stillness wasn't summoned on the spot. It was summoned from memory, from repetition. So if you want to be calm in the storm, don't wait for the storm to train you. Train now. Meditate before the chaos. Journal before the heartbreak. Walk alone before the crowd turns on you. Build your inner citadel brick by brick, so when the winds howl, you don't scramble for shelter, you become it.
Let's be honest, the world will keep spinning fast. People will keep testing you. Life will keep throwing chaos your way. But you're not here to be fragile. You're here to become solid, quiet, focused, unbreakable. Mindfulness, values, purpose, stillness. These are not luxuries. They are your defense, your armor, your power. If this message resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more grounded souls. Be one of them. Be unshakable.